Tonight, Alaska faces a crisis echoing across the nation. Its skies, once alive with the hum of engines, are falling silent. The vast wilderness, usually connected by a network of small planes and bush pilots, is now eerily quiet. For generations, aviation has been the heartbeat of Alaska, linking families, delivering food and medicine, and providing a vital connection to the outside world. But now, that lifeline is in jeopardy. The shutdown of the U.S. federal government has triggered an aviation emergency, threatening to sever the only lifeline for dozens of remote communities. With federal agencies shuttered and critical funding frozen, airports across Alaska are grinding to a halt. Planes that once brought hope and help now sit idle, and the uncertainty grows with each passing hour. For Alaskans, where roads are scarce and planes are essential, this is a matter of survival. No flights mean no medical care, no supplies, no work. In many villages, the airport is the only way in or out, especially during harsh winters. Without regular flights, families are cut off from emergency services, children miss school, and businesses face devastating losses. The silence over Alaska is a warning bell for all of America. What happens here could soon ripple across the country, exposing the fragility of our transportation networks and the communities that depend on them. Chronic understaffing and a sudden halt in federal funding have created a perfect storm, putting the entire U.S. air network at risk. Air traffic controllers are stretched thin, working long hours without pay, while maintenance crews struggle to keep runways safe. The effects are being felt not just in Alaska, but in airports large and small across the nation. Tonight, we'll uncover how a budget standoff in Congress could isolate 65 Alaskan communities and send shockwaves through airports nationwide. The stakes are high, not just for those living in the far north, but for anyone who relies on air travel, commerce, or emergency services. We'll meet the people on the front lines, controllers working without pay, families facing isolation, and the ripple effects spreading from the wilderness to our busiest cities. Their stories reveal the human cost of political gridlock and the resilience of those determined to keep Alaska and America connected. This is the story of a national crisis unfolding in real time, a test of our infrastructure, our politics, and our resolve. As the silence deepens over Alaska, the rest of the country must ask, how long can we afford to let our lifelines go quiet? The roots of this crisis lie in the government shutdown that began October 1st, when Congress failed to pass a spending bill. Deep partisan divides over healthcare subsidies brought federal operations to a halt. Again, essential workers, including air traffic controllers and TSA agents, must keep working, but without pay. The stress and uncertainty are mounting, threatening morale and performance. History shows the aviation system is the first to buckle under shutdown pressure, as seen in the 2018-2019 standoff. That shutdown ended only when air traffic delays forced lawmakers' hands. Now, the system is even more fragile, with no resolution in sight. The shutdown isn't just politics, it's a direct threat to public safety and economic stability. Alaska's looming isolation and nationwide airport chaos are the real-world consequences of political gridlock. At the heart of Alaska's crisis is the Essential Air Service, or EAS, a federal program that keeps remote communities connected by subsidizing flights. This program is a crucial lifeline for many Alaskans, ensuring that even the most isolated villages have access to the outside world. Without it, these communities would be cut off, unable to receive essential goods and services. With the shutdown, EAS funding will run out by Sunday, October 12th. This looming deadline has created a sense of urgency and panic among the residents who rely on these flights for their daily needs. When the money stops, airlines can't afford to serve nearly 200 isolated towns, 65 in Alaska alone. These towns are scattered across vast, rugged terrain, making alternative transportation options nearly impossible. For these places, air travel is the only way to get medical help, groceries, or reach work. The absence of flights would mean no access to emergency medical evacuations, fresh food supplies, or the ability to commute for employment. Alaska Airlines and smaller carriers warn they'll have to suspend flights if subsidies vanish. This would not only impact the residents, but also the airlines and their employees who depend on these routes for their livelihood. The end of EAS isn't an inconvenience, it's an existential threat, cutting off tens of thousands from the outside world. The isolation would be devastating, affecting every aspect of life in these remote areas. The clock is ticking, and the loss of this lifeline could plunge Alaska into a humanitarian crisis. The impact would be felt immediately with dire consequences for those who are already vulnerable. The fate of these communities now hangs on a political decision far from their home. Lawmakers in Washington, D.C. hold the power to either save or doom these remote Alaskan towns, making it a critical moment for all involved. While rural America faces isolation, the nation's busiest air corridors are crippled by a different crisis: unpaid air traffic controllers. Already stretched thin by years of understaffing, controllers now work grueling shifts without pay, unsure how to support their families. The result? More sick calls, fewer staff, and mounting delays at airports nationwide. When towers are short-staffed, the FAA slows or grounds flights, causing ripple effects across the country. This week alone, Burbank and Nashville airports faced hours-long shutdowns due to staffing shortages. These aren't isolated incidents. Major hubs from Newark to Dallas are affected, stranding hundreds of thousands. The system is buckling under the weight of political dysfunction and human exhaustion. The safety and reliability of U.S. air travel have never been more uncertain. As of Thursday, October 9th, the American aviation system is facing an unprecedented crisis. The nation's airports, once symbols of seamless connectivity and progress, are now scenes of confusion and anxiety. Passengers crowd terminals, scanning departure boards for updates, while airline staff scramble to manage the chaos. The sense of uncertainty is palpable, and the ripple effects are being felt across the country. Controller shortages and the looming end of essential air service funding have pushed the entire network to the very edge of collapse. Air traffic controllers, already stretched thin, are working overtime to keep planes moving safely, but the strain is showing. The system is buckling under the pressure, and the margin for error is shrinking by the hour. In just a matter of days, major airports like Burbank and Nashville have ground to a halt, with delays and cancellations spreading rapidly to Denver, Houston, and D.C. What began as isolated disruptions has now become a nationwide gridlock, stranding thousands of travelers and leaving entire regions disconnected. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has issued a stark warning. If safety is compromised, the FAA will have no choice but to slow or cancel flights, further shrinking the system's already limited capacity. The government is under immense pressure to act, but solutions remain elusive as the crisis deepens. Airlines are now preparing to suspend service to over 100 communities as EAS funds run dry. For many small towns, these flights are a lifeline, connecting them to medical care, business opportunities, and family. The loss of service threatens to isolate entire communities, with consequences that will be felt for years to come. The combination of controller shortages and lost subsidies is a two-front war on American aviation. It's not just about missed vacations or business trips, it's about the very fabric of how people and goods move across the country. The system is being tested like never before. The clock is ticking towards Sunday's deadline, when Alaska and dozens of towns could be cut off from the rest of the nation. For these remote communities, the stakes are even higher. Air travel is often the only link to the outside world. The system is fragile, and the political will to fix it is nowhere in sight. Lawmakers debate, but solutions remain out of reach. Meanwhile, the crisis grows more urgent with each passing hour. The stakes have never been higher for travelers and communities nationwide. As uncertainty looms, millions wait and hope for a solution that may not come in time. For Alaskans, this isn't just news, it's a nightmare. With 80% of communities off the road system, planes are ambulances, school buses, and delivery trucks. The loss of air service means no way to reach hospitals, stock stores, or keep families connected. The economic fallout is severe. Fishing, oil, and tourism all depend on reliable flights. A prolonged shutdown could cripple these industries, leading to job losses and hardship. Air travel also sustains the social fabric, connecting families, supporting cultural events, and keeping communities alive. The threat of isolation is profound, and the sense of uncertainty is growing. Alaska's leaders call it breathtaking, a catastrophe imposed by a political fight far away. The future of 65 communities now hangs in the balance. Alaska's crisis is just the tip of the iceberg. Controller shortages are causing chaos nationwide. Delays at major hubs like Chicago and Dallas ripple across the country, disrupting flights, crew schedules, and cargo deliveries. The economic cost is staggering. Airlines lose millions, businesses suffer, and supply chains falter. Even a single day of disruption can cost the U.S. economy hundreds of millions. The shutdown exposes how much we depend on fast, reliable air travel, and how fragile that system really is. Public trust is eroding, and America's reputation as a reliable destination is at risk. Images of chaos and stranded passengers are broadcast worldwide, damaging tourism and investment. This is more than a domestic crisis. It's a blow to America's standing on the world stage. As the crisis deepens, aviation experts and officials are sounding the alarm. Nick Daniels, head of the Air Traffic Controllers Union, warns that chronic understaffing and unpaid work are a recipe for disaster. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy admits the only way to manage risk is to slow the system, meaning more delays and cancellations. The collapse of EAS funding is now a certainty without congressional action. Experts have warned for years that shutdowns threaten aviation safety, disrupt hiring, and erode morale. A 2023 report predicted exactly this scenario, warnings that went unheeded. Now the consequences are real, immediate, and nationwide. The message from the front lines is clear: end the shutdown before disaster strikes. Tonight, America stands at a crossroads. The silence in Alaska and chaos at our airports are symptoms of political failure. We've seen how a budget dispute can threaten national security, public safety, and the very fabric of remote communities. The immediate priority is clear. Congress must end the shutdown and restore funding to critical services now. This isn't a partisan issue. It's a basic responsibility of government. Beyond this crisis, we need a more resilient system, one not held hostage by politics. The events of October 2025 will be remembered as a moment when our system buckled. The question is, will it also be the moment we find the will to fix it?